'Cause he is. I love how this man is constantly
Aura farming.
and is always stylishly over the top and it's never addressed. Reading his comics and watching the Blade films as a kid, I've always been a big Blade fan. My first introduction to him, like many others, was through the Wesley Snipes movies.
There's only been one Blade. There's only ever gonna be one Blade.
They're obviously so good, and it's a good time to be a Blade fan. With his reintroduction into pop culture, thanks to Deadpool vs. Wolverine, as well as his game being made as we speak, we've been thinking of Blade a lot lately. This is a side note, but I really hope his game isn't cancelled. Dishonored is my top 3 games of all time, and I must have played it about 20 plus times. So I'm really curious to see what Arcane does with him. Lately, I've been obsessed with a game called Marvel Rivals. It's a 6v6 team-based game. It's online, which is a new thing for me. I usually don't play online games. You play as Marvel characters, heroes and villains. And they release a new character every month. So next month, they're introducing Blade. The excitement I felt is next level. And I woke up at 8 a.m. after going to bed around 5 a.m. and I was thinking to myself, why am I so excited? I've delved into so many character stories and hours with them across many forms of media, including video games, books, and films. Way more time than I've ever spent with Blade. So why do I love Blade so much? Why do we love Blade so much?
Get a little tired chopping you up. What if I try fire?
Disclaimer, please listen closely. Listening with intent is a sacred act. It requires patience and humility and a willingness to hear what is beyond the surface. There are centuries of context to everything on earth and a reason why everything is the way it is. There are no default actions. Everything is tainted by unconscious. There's no clean slate. We aren't omnipresent and there are things that are beyond your understanding. There are lives of many people that experience things different than you and me. When people don't listen, they project their own assumptions from their unconscious beliefs and miss what I'm saying. If you miss what I'm saying or you do not want to understand, you're missing the whole point. When I was younger, I used to hear a lot about representation, what it means to see people that look like you, doing things you weren't allowed to do, or just showcasing experiences that you've been through.
I do that.
They used to say it was important to see people do things that you wouldn't normally see in the world because it lets people know what they're capable of.
When I was a kid,
I used to think to myself that it doesn't really mean much. I didn't feel it, or so I thought. Then I thought of little me being up at times he shouldn't be, in his room, watching his TV, face lit up by the only light in the room from the glow of that small black box with that big thing at the back, catching a late night run of Wesley in his black leather, slaying vamps with what felt like Batman amount of skill and gadgets. Little me never seen something like this before and was too small to even know what something like this before was. I was in awe, enamored. A feeling like when I first seen Batman for the first time, but different because I saw me. Being a white person in the world, everything reflects you and your experience always and all the time. Majority of the characters that we relate to, humanize and empathize with in North America are white. Being white, you never had to actively look for someone that looks like you. You open your phone, turn on the TV, go outside, and you are there. Now, I don't know if you know this, but that is power. That is power over your reality and the world around you. It's also power around the people around you as well, because it forms the way you are and the way they are. Imagine the sense of confidence and entitlement when everything reflects you all the time. There's this underlying message that spawns a belief that the world is yours. And if you don't think this is true, don't go to the comments. Think about why you are heading there right now. Look at the anger that people have when something isn't reflecting them for 1 second. I can go on about this and gaming and pop culture in general, but it may fit better for another video. So I felt a modicum of this pride when I seen a black man like Blade on the TV screen. He didn't know it, but for the first time in his life, that little boy seen a black person in a position of power on the TV ever.
Motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill.
And I'm not talking about position of power bred from racism, because the only other position of power you see black men in is violent depictions. Some gang leader or taking his power back as a result of injustice, which is important. Sometimes inadvertently centering white people in black stories and is black trauma for entertainment. What I mean is this is the first time I've seen a black person of any kind being the holder of a power fantasy without any ulterior motives. Things like this are important to people of color to see. Humans are so visual, it gives them pride, confidence that you need in a world. Us seeing ourselves in the world help us to feel more safe in the world and see potentials that we used to have to use our soul to imagine before. This is important to people so that they could feel like they belong to the world and not feel invisible. I love how the Blade movies are so camp, they're so over the top. I know this was the style at the time, especially for action movies, but it works so well with Blade. The other camp movies I could think of that I love from that time is, I think the first 3 Mission Impossibles, and maybe the first 2, but all the masks were so funny and insane. There's the motorcycle death fights, Tom Cruise hanging off a rock face just for the intro. This makes you think of a time where things were simple and not so serious, and I unironically enjoy over-the-top movies. This man, Wesley Snipes, would do 20 backsprings into a twirl, land on some dude's head, spin on it, and the vamp would explode into ash. Seeing his characterization not change in Deadpool vs. Wolverine was also refreshing. I love when action films are able to be ridiculous and just fun. I feel like Christopher Nolan really did us in with the action films, and now every action film is trying to have deep exposition and monologue scenes. But every time it just comes across like a grade 10 philosophy class. There's only been a couple times where it's been done actually well. I wish that we could have fun with movies again. I feel like every movie is just there to reinforce people's ego. That's why I love Blade, and don't get me wrong, there are some serious scenes in Blade and some peak directing. Of course, we all think of the sprinkler scene and the build-up, the reveal, and then Blade just standing there and somehow not a drop of blood is on him. Also, Blade being the first to do it means a lot. The first blockbuster Marvel movie was Blade, a black man. It's not like everything else in American entertainment started in black culture. Just a black anti-hero on a motorcycle, something about it is just healing. Maybe it's just seeing blackness in different worlds and aesthetics, but it's great. Usually black characters are treated very seriously or as a joke. They relieve the tense moments in someone else's story, usually a white person. There's not a character to them. Entertain like a minstrel show, while the white characters can push the plot forward. So it's nice to see a black person be the main character and unapologetically camp, and it just never be addressed. Usually when a black character is camp, that is the joke itself. They're the joke. The joke is that this character isn't acting how you'd assume they would be acting. This is the reason why characters like Terry Crews in White Chicks is funny to people. He is acting over the top than how you would expect someone like him to act. This type of humor is obviously racism when you peel back the layers. It's basically subverting expectations because watchers expect someone that looks like him to act like a stereotypical created depiction of a black person. The vampire space has always been white. Think about it, I don't even know any black vamps. Except for Laurent, and it was pulling teeth trying to get him to actually be black because the author didn't want any black vamps. And that's cool and all, it's her story and her world, until you find out the background of why she wanted all the vamps white. By Stephanie's logic, Laurent was supposed to turn white after bitten, because to be bitten is to turn beautiful, and to be beautiful is to be white. Unfortunately for my childhood self, Twilight dealt with a lot of things in a bad way. From the idea of becoming pure, meaning you got paler and paler, to the native characters being literal dogs. There's a lot of issues. And when you take a step back, you see the issues steep in racist Mormon beliefs. Vampirism isn't a curse like it used to be, but a mark of ascension. To be a vamp is to be white and beautiful, forever young, and having a draconian government structure of some old white dudes. But there's a reason why all vamps are white. The purity, beauty, and ancient royal generational power was never created with people of color in mind. Vampire culture is very white, and that's cool. Y'all do you and you have your culture. But there is real life deep reasons of why that is. Like I said in my disclaimer, there are no default actions. It's interesting that lots of white culture things lead back to ignorance and racism. With that being said, Blade is peak being black in white spaces. I was surprised to see that Blade was made by two white guys because they're finessed to be able to tell this metaphor so well. Maybe they were totally unaware of what they did here, or their ignorance gifted them an ability to tell a story, or maybe they did it on purpose. Usually when black characters are written, it's done kind of bad, like what we talked about before. Need I remind you of the Miles Morales Thor comic issue where he was talking about his J's and his hood? Even some traits of the new Ironheart show and her characters in Miles Morales and Spider-Man PS4.
He leaps off of rooftops and flips backwards to face the camera before falling into a headfirst dive is just full of the exaggerated swagger of a black teen.
Feels like when people write black characters, they write them with being black on their sleeve. They make it so obvious, as if being black is this person's whole personality, whatever being black means to them, which is usually very stereotypical and surface level things. This dehumanizes black people because now we're just seen as all the things that make up being black and not as an actual human being. But I guess that's what you get from an entertainment industry that was built on wearing black bodies, mocking them in dehumanizing ways with minstrel shows.
These shows mostly consisted of performers in blackface. Blackface was the practice of non-black performers darkening their skin with burnt cork or shoe polish to caricature and mock black people. The tradition reached its peak between 1850 and 1870. However, although the form gradually disappeared from professional theaters, its influence endured in vaudeville, radio, television, and the motion picture and music industries of the 20th and 21st centuries. Many people don't realize how popular in the mainstream blackface was. Professional blackface shows were the #1 form of entertainment in the 19th century in New York City. They created blackface celebrities and a whole entertainment industry around blackface.
Blade is able to work in being black so well, because to me, his powers are a metaphor for being black. Blade is the only black vamp with all these white vamps. He is half human, half vamp, so he belongs in both worlds, but not fully accepted by either. Being half human grants him powers that his vamp counterparts do not have, like walking in the daytime and having a human life and connections. His blackness grants him powers his enemies do not have. Blade kind of makes me think about being too white for black people and being too black for white people. Keep in mind when I say too much of this or that, I am aware that these things are constructed by people and is not real, but it is something that exists in our collective conscious. So he is caught in his own unique world of being in between. As a person that is black and moved from a big city to the suburbs at a young age, this hits deep.
That shit get deep.
As I'm sure it would for any person of any race, and how it feels to be stuck between two worlds, but not fully belonging to either. I think that's what makes Blade great. The way he's handled. His blackness, his humanity, acting as a metaphor for his strength. Now his characterization's not perfect. Sometimes he's treated like a Samuel L. Jackson cosplayer with his dialogue.
Motherfucker, are you out of your damn mind?
Motherfucker, fuck on. You owe me some money, motherfucker. You motherfuckers talking about? Motherfucker, I eat everything.
But we can't all be perfect. Blade is a super iconic character. Being a bridge between two peoples, Blade's importance stretches beyond being a superhero. But I guess that's what superheroes are. They are human, and that is why we love them.
Piece of shit. Alien!
That is where you've always been wrong about me, Lex. I'm as human as anyone. I love, I get scared. I wake up every morning and despite not knowing what to do, I put one foot in front of the other and I try to make the best choices I can. I screw up all the time. But that is being human. And that's my greatest strength.
I think it's important of young people of color to see more people like them in their media, like Blade. I also think it's good for white people too, and all people, to watch media and start empathizing with people that do not look like them. I think stories and fiction is so important because it allows us to be in another person's shoes and empathize with people from different walks of life than ours. I'm hoping for more Blade media in the future, and I'm super excited for his release in Marvel Rivals. I hope I wasn't too yappy, and if you stayed with me to the end, I appreciate you. That's the thing about race and history, is like you open up a can of worms with each sentence. There is so much context and flashbacks you have to do to explain what you just said. So if you're still here, you're the best. Feel free to comment and leave any thoughts you have. If you're excited for more Blade in the ether, be sure to like the video, be sure to subscribe for more video essays in the future, and Swag Cat out.